Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a deck for you that kind of has been on my mind for quite a while in different variations over the years, ever since I saw this commander, and one that, well, your opponents will not see coming and cannot stop when they want to, because it's going to be too late, because they're going to be like, wait, this deck does what, what's going, no! And then they're gone. So that's how it's gonna go. Let's jump into it. So the commander for this deck is Marisi, Break of the Coil, which I didn't realize is $7.67. I don't know why. I mean, it's a decently popular commander for like Go decks and whatnot, but like, didn't realize this was gonna be a nearly $8 card. Regardless, it's a very budget-friendly deck still. According to Moxfield, the total cost of the deck is just $25.31, even with that $7 commander, which is like 1/3 of the price tag of the deck. That being said, this doesn't include shipping or basic lands, but you may already have those basics, or you can borrow them from friends, your LGS, or you can just buy them in bulk, whatever. Still very budget friendly. Yes. Now let's jump into why this is a crazy version of Marisi, a 5/4 cat warrior that costs 1 red, green, white. Now what most players focus on is the second part of this, which I'll just read first. Whenever a creature control deals counters to a player, go to each creature the player controls. I believe I built a Marisi deck years and years ago, or whenever this one came out. Looks like 2019. And basically, yeah, you just get low-to-the-ground creatures out there that are evasive, you swing through, and you hit your opponents, and you goad creatures that they have. And then they swing at your other opponents, and then you say, yay, I win with this. Which is a very exciting build, and very cool, and very fun. But the thing that I couldn't get over, and the thing that I really wanted to focus this deck on at some point when I finally, found the right combination of cards is your opponents can't cast spells during combat. Now, for most decks with Marisi, that's just kind of like an afterthought. That's like, okay, it's nice to know that if I'm swinging with my creatures, they're not going to get messed with. My opponents can't cast removal spell. They can't cast, whatever during combat. I could cast some combat trigger if I really want to, but yeah, they can't cast spells during combat. They are shut out of casting spells during combat. Now with that, there is another version of the deck that you can build, again, that doesn't care about that goading aspect of the deck. Again, your opponents might think that's what you're doing. It's not what you're doing. What you're going to be doing is caring about them not being able to interact with you during combat, really. Yes, sure, there are activate abilities and whatnot, and yes, there are certain ways opponents could stop you, hypothetically, if they somehow saw this coming, but yeah, they're not going to see it coming. You are going to destroy them because they can't, say, cast a counterspell during combat. They can't cast any kind of instant during combat. They can't stop what you want to do. As long as you're in combat, you can cast spells. They can't. And that is a massive advantage that we are going to take advantage of, and you will see just how on this episode. Again, if you are interested in this deck, make sure to check out that deck list link in the description below. And with all that said, let's jump into tactics. And tactic number 1, I very simply named Burninate, because yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to burninate your opponents to the ground, and again, most Marisi decks aren't going to be doing that. You're going to be goading creatures, you're going to be swinging, and this deck is like, no, I'm going to cast a giant fireball type effect at instant speed, and you can't counter it. And I'm going to have an absurd amount of mana as well, and I'm just going to utilize that to destroy your faces. And again, there's nothing you can do about it. Fun times. Follow the Titans is a great one for us. Instant for XX and a red, but it's got a surge cost of X and a red. So all we need to do is cast a single other spell, and all of a sudden we save on that X mana value. Yeah, we're going to be doing that. It deals X damage each for the 2 target creatures and or players. Yeah, we're not going to be burninating creatures with this most of the time. We're going to be burninating players' faces. And again, 2 players' faces. And again, we've got plenty of ways to get a lot of mana and maybe copy these kinds of spells to burninate so many things that we just take out all of our opponents, essentially, with giant fireball effects out of nowhere. Moving on. Get to Fire, a sorcery for X and a red. You can cast it anytime you cast an instant, though if you pay 2 more to cast it. Yeah, we're going to be doing that. Because again, sorcery speed, nice for a fireball type effect. Again, X damage for creature player. Mostly player is what we're doing. Nice at sorcery speed, but again, that can be countered. Because, yeah, our commander does not protect us during just our main phases. But what we get protection from, again, is when we cast this during combat. Any combat, not just our own. So again, any combat, doesn't matter if it's ours or our opponent's, we can just cast this giant fireball type effect for an extra 2 mana and say, yeah, that's what we're doing. You can't counter this. Burninate your face. Moving on, Lunar Frenzy. This one's an interesting one. Instant for X and a red. Target creature control gets plus X plus 0 against first strike and trample on a turn. So again, I did say that, yeah, there are certain combat tricks that you might pull off in a regular Marisi deck. This is one that is basically a fireball for all intents and purposes with this deck. So we have to cast this on our combat, really. Because again, it does say creature you control. Unfortunately, we can't just, like, hey, an opponent's attacking another one. Cool, pump their creature. No, what we need to do is, again, pump any creature. Can be your commander. Who cares what it is, essentially. In combat, your opponent can't really interact with that again because they can't do anything when it comes to casting spells. So you just say, okay, cool, basically fireball worth of damage on my creature, which might have already gotten through in combat or whatnot. Cool. And if not, even if they blocked, cool, first strike, trample, my creature is protected, and it's going to be getting damage through. So yeah, basically kind of like a combat trick fireball type effect. Next up, one works in a different way. Ravaging Blaze. Instant for X red, X damage target creature. In Spell Mastery, if there are 2 or more instant and/or sorcery cards in your graveyard, it's going to deal X damage to that creature's controller. So this is basically removal plus burninating the player's face. So basically, again, yeah, you're probably not going to want to cast this unless you've got Spell Mastery. It's going to be very easy for you to get a Spell Mastery, though you've got an absurd amount of instant sorceries in this deck. And essentially just, yeah, take out a creature and then some, and of course, take out your opponent's face at the same time. Next up, Volcanic Geyser. Very simple, very effective. Instant for X red, X damage any target. Again, there are plenty of fireball type effects out there. Like, I believe Fireball, I think, is probably a sorcery. I believe it's a sorcery. There's a lot of sorcery fireballs. Those don't really do it for us. What we care about, again, is that instant one. Even if they pay a premium, again, an extra mana, an extra single red mana, sure, we'll pay it because we want the instant speed for that protection. Basically, it's just like, hey, extra 1 mana for uncounterability thanks to our commander. Finally, Searing Wind. Now, this is not a fireball type effect. This is just a giant damage effect. Instant for X and a red, 10 damage to our creature or player. Normally, this would be pretty terrible in a lot of decks out there, but with this deck, this can be really, really good because, well, we might have some ways to make this even more damage. We can make it, yeah, 10 is a good amount, and if someone's low, we can take them out. But of course, we've got ways to make this into 20, 30, 40, a lot of damage. So we can take players out in absolutely no time, even with something like this. But now let's go to tactic number 2, quit hitting yourself, because yeah, we've got a different kind of a fireball type effect, which is quite funny with this commander. Divine Deflection. Instant for X and a white, prevent the next X damage to be dealt to you and our opponent you control. It's gonna be to us, most likely. If damage to be prevented this way, it deals that much damage to our creature or player. Yeah, basically, hey, okay, you swung at us in combat with all your creatures. Oh no, what shall we do? We're going to prevent all that damage can be dealt to us, and all of a sudden it's going to go back at that player's face, or actually any player's face. It doesn't have to be the player that attacked us. It can be any player, essentially, right? Or a creature if you really want to, but more likely, this is just basically a kind of like protection fireball, essentially. So yeah, you might even encourage someone like, go ahead and swing with me, whatever, I don't care. Or you can actually kind of work with the opponent and be like, hey, look, that player over there is a problem. Okay, you can't get through with your army. I can. Okay, so swing at me. I won't block, and then I'll take that damage, and then just dish it to that player. And then that player will be like, that's not fair. No. And then they'll lose. So it doesn't matter. Anyways, moving on. Captain's Maneuver. This one's a very interesting one as well. Instant for X, red, and a white. The next X damage will be dealt to our creature or player this turn is dealt to another target creature or player instead. This one doesn't even have to be you. It doesn't have to be like, oh, cool, hey, if someone swings at me, I'll move it. No, this is like, oh, okay, oh, you're about to take out that player with your army. Okay, you swing at them. Oh, okay, cool. Let's make a deal. I'll save you, all right? I'll take all that damage and I'll take them out. Okay, cool. All right, then you'll just take the other player out for me, and then we'll just, yeah, take each other at the end. Anyways, a lot of deals can be made with this card, and also just can be a very fantastic, just trickery play that you can utilize. Finally, Jahir's Respect. Now, this one isn't a fireball type effect, but this is one that can really set yourself up for one. Instant for 4 in a grain, such life for X basic land cards, or X the number of creatures attacking you. Those cards on battlefield, tap, then shuffle. For all common to be dealt this turn. So yeah, again, this is one that's like, hey, okay, cool. I will actually just, yeah, protect myself, and also ramp. And also, you can't stop it, because again, this is a card that might be decently risky depending on the situation. Like, yeah, if an opponent's got mana up, they could counter this, and you're like, oh no, I just spent 5 mana for a fog that did nothing, and I didn't get any lands out of it. All of a sudden, it's like, no, this is guaranteed to happen. Sure, if someone swings at you, you're guaranteed to get all these. So yeah, you can get an absurd amount of ramp out of this, set yourself up for a giant fireball spell, and of course, there's plenty of other ways that we can set ourselves up for that, and we might just talk about that, well, now. Now let's move on to tactic number 3 with the Golden Pig of this deck, which is the #1 card of our 99. The Golden Pig of this deck is Horizon Stone. Yeah, this is a fun one. And actually, the most expensive card in the deck outside the commander at 57 cents. Wow, really expensive there. Artifact for 5. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes colorless instead. This is massive. This is huge. This is just a mana bank that we just want to keep filling again and again and again with glorious mana that we can then save up for our giant fireball type effects. And essentially saying, yeah, okay, cool. I've got like 20 colors mana. Let's just utilize that on an opponent's face. So yeah, just every single turn, just whatever mana that you don't have spent, cool. Right before your turn starts, tap all your lands, dump it into this essentially and say, cool, I get colorless mana instead. I'll just keep building that up, and be able to just have some really explosive turns, really game-ending plays. It's a fantastic card in my opinion. Definitely worthy of the title of the Golden Pig of this deck. Next up, though, let's go into tech number 4, Seeing Double, because, yeah, those fireballs are great, but we can make them even better with cards like, well, Double Cast. And this is, I'd say, on the lower end of cards when it comes to their effectiveness, but it's still one that can be very good. So for red, when you cast your next instant sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, choose target to the copy. This one is at sorcery speed, unfortunately. That being said, we can set ourselves up. It has to be on our turn, obviously. Cast on your first main phase. Cool. There you go. All of a sudden, the next spell you cast is going to be copied. And then you wait till combat. And then you cast your juicy instant speed fireball spell, and then you take an opponent out, because again, if it would have been 20 damage, now all of a sudden it's 40, and their face is gone. Moving on, dual casting. It's an aura enchant creature for 2 mana. Enchant creature has pay red, tap, copy target, instant sorcery spell you control, 2 targets to the copy. Basically, repeatable copy effect. This one can be very effective throughout the game because we've got plenty of spells that we're going to want to copy, like, you know, ramp spells, because ramp can be incredibly important for us, of course. But also, yeah, those fireballs can come in really handy, or copy a copy spell, which copies a copy spell. We can do some pretty crazy things with a deck like this. Next up, Increasing Vengeance. This one can be really, really good. Instant for red. Copy target instant sorcery spell you control, but you can flash it back for 5 mana. If it was cast from graveyard, you copy it twice instead. So again, that fireball fits like X equals 10 damage. All of a sudden, we can turn it into 30 if this is out of our graveyard. Next up, Twin Inferno, instant speed, choose 1. Whenever you cast your next instant sorcery spell this turn, copy it. Choose target to the copy, or give a creature double strike. Yeah, I guess if you got like the Lunar Frenzy play, sure, giving double strike can be very impactful, but other than that, yeah, you're most likely just going to be copying the spell. Just copying that juicy spell again. Instant speed, this one can happen. Again, most of the time when you're fireballing players, you're probably going to be, hey, okay, waiting until the turn right before yours, their combat, so there's only one more main phase that you got to worry about, essentially, then just dumping all your mana into a massive fireball and copying it to something like this. Next up, a huge play. Display of Power. Really spicy card. Instant for 1 red. It can't be copied, so you can't copy this, that's okay. Copy any of target instant or sorcery spells, choose targets to the copies. This can just be a big blowout play. You're essentially like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, I'm going to cast a copy spell, and then I'm going to cast my fireball. I'm going to cast this and copy the copy spell, copy the fireball to get even more. So basically, yeah, you're just going to take everyone out in one play once you're set properly with this. Next up, Dual Caster Mage. A 2/2 Human Wizard Flash, enters battlefield, copy target instant sorcery spell, choose targets to the copy. Keep in mind, this can actually copy an opponent's spell as well, so if you want to take one of their Jersey plays, or, you know, just you want to copy a counter spell to counter a counter spell whenever you need to for, you know, something else, I don't know. It works, okay? Or you can just copy one of your fireballs, which is probably what we're going to do. Moving on, Howl of the Horde. This one is, well, kind of like double cast, essentially, on the lower end of our copy effects, but still pretty good. Basically, copy that X in source spell you cast, or if you attack with a creature this turn, copy it twice instead. So again, there are going to be circumstances where this can come in really handy. Speaking of handy, though, oh my goodness, repeated reverberation. This is a game-ending card. When you cast your next in source spell, or activate low to, but don't worry about that. Copy that spell or ability twice. So again, basically, three, you know, fireballs essentially going at players' faces. What's not to love with that instant speed? Next up, Wild Ricochet. This is going to be pretty flexible. Choose new targets, target instant sorcery spell, copy the spell, choose new targets. Yeah, basically, hey, if an opponent's doing something, cool, let's just, you know, change those targets, let's copy it, let's get value out of that, or again, hey, let's just copy one of our spells too, so a little flexibility there. Moving on, Double Vision, free copy. What's not to love about that? When you cast your first instant sorcery spell each turn, copy it. Cool. All right, so if we're doing things on our opponent's turns, great, we copy things for free, and if not, just free value. Even if you're just casting ramp spells on your turn, great, copy it, cool, why not? And then finally, well, not finally, we've got Mirari, another way to copy things, another permanent way to copy things is what I should say. Legendary artifact. When you cast an source spell, you may pay 3. If you do copy that spell, you choose targets for the copy. So again, an extra 3 mana is going to be well worth it a lot of the time. Again, on your fireball effects, of course, obviously. Even the copy spells as well. Even your ramp spells as well. A lot of fun can be had with that. Then we've got, okay, there's one final way to permanently, continuously copy things. Wart the Raid Mother enters battlefield. You get 2/1/1 red and green gobos. Cool. What do? Well, each red or green in-source spell you control is Conspire. So basically, you can tap 2 creatures that share a color type with it, and then you can suddenly just copy that spell. So free copy effects for some of our best spells out there. Finally, Radiant Performer. This one's a very spicy card. 2/2 Flash, Human Wizard for 5 mana. Enters battlefield if you cast from your hand. Choose target spell ability. Targets only a single permanent or player. Basically, you're going to copy it for each other permanent player that the spell could target. And yeah, basically, hey, you got a fireball that targets one player, you take out all the players. If you got another spell that maybe targets a certain thing, like, targets an artifact, cool, you can just say, okay, let's destroy all the artifacts. So this can be a very, very good card. And of course, it's basically just a way to triple up a fireball. Essentially, say it's 1 fireball to 1 player's face. Now it's 2 more, essentially. So it's a great card for a deck like this. But now let's go into tactic number 5, Value Town. And yeah, Sunforger can be quite the value-centric card. In equipment for 3, equip creature gets +4/+0. By paying red, white, you unattach and search life for a red or white instant card. Or a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less, and cast it for free. Why not? Basically, hey, you know what's gonna be good right now? Probably one of our copy effects. So essentially, again, in combat, you get there and all of a sudden you say, oh cool, my commander or whatever has +4/+0. Who cares? What I care about is I'm gonna cast a fireball, and then all of a sudden I'm gonna untach this, and then I'm going to just basically, get a copy spell and then copy that. It's a repeatable copy effect for you. Moving on, Fire Servant, a great card for this kind of a deck. It's an elemental for 4/3. Play red instant sorcery spell you control will deal damage, deals double that damage instead. Basically double everything up. Yeah, our burninating effects already double up essentially with our copy spells, and all of a sudden now they are burninating even further. So yeah, ramp, get a ton of mana, and then all of a sudden your fireballs are twice as effective. Your opponents are going to be in big trouble. But let's go to tactic number 6, because we've got some other plays that we can, win with, essentially. We don't have to burnate our opponents to the ground just to win. We've got, tactic number 6, bring some friends. Bring some friends with you and win in this way. March the Multitudes, instant for X, green, white, convoke. So your creatures can help out if you need. Create X, 1/1 white soldier creature opens lifelink. Cool. Just make a giant army again. With these kinds of cards, what you're probably going to be doing is, again, waiting for the player's turn right before yours, and then go to their combat. And once they're in their combat, you're like, oh, okay, cool, you're going to do your things. Okay, cool. I'm just going to cast this giant spell and make an absurd amount of creature tokens that you can't counter. This is also kind of like a mini fog in a way, too, because, yeah, if an opponent's swinging at you, you're like, okay, I'll make an army out of nowhere that has lifelink. So even more so than a fog, you're going to be gaining life back. Then we also have White Sun Zenith, another great X spell at instant speed. X, white, instant speed, create X/2/2 white cat creature tokens, shuffle it into Solar's library, so you can cast this multiple times throughout the game. Yeah, this is a great way to say, again, just right before my turn, essentially, on that combat, being like, you can't counter this, I'm making an absurd army. All of a sudden, you just have all these cats, and your opponents are going to be in big trouble. And now let's go to tactic number 7, one for the money, because, well, usually I talk about the ramp package first, but it kind of made sense to talk about it later in this one. Anyways, sorry. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. I'm so sorry for having you later in this episode. Regardless, pay 2, tap, sacrifice, go get a base land and play tapped. Font of Fertility, basically an enchantment version of Wayfarer's Bauble. Edge of Autumn, a great card, basically rampant growth, but a little bit different. Essentially, hey, if you have 4 more lands, or 5 more lands, I should say, you can't cast it. That's okay. Early in the game, it can be a great ramp spell for you. Or, yeah, later in the game, again, when you can't cast it, you can still cycle it away by sacrificing a land, which can be absolutely massive for you. Rampant growth, just standard ramp, which is fantastic. Cultivate, go get 2 lands. 1 goes into play, tapped. 1 goes into your hand. Great way to set yourself up for land drops. Moving on, Far Wanderings. This is a very interesting one. Basically, go get 1 basic into play tap, or if you've got Threshold, go get 3 basics into play tap. That is huge. Threshold being 7 cards in your graveyard or more. We've got an absurd amount of spells. We've got ways to get cards in our graveyard quite quickly. Yeah, we can get that. Moving on, Harrow. Speaking of ways to get cards in our graveyard, sacrifice 1 land, go get 2 basics into play untapped, so you can utilize that mana right away. Whirling Regrowth, very similar. Again, sacrifice 1 land, get 2 basics into play tapped. Search Tomorrow, basically a great turn 1 play as well. Suspend 2 for a single green mana, go get a basic into play untapped, so you can utilize that mana right away. Springbloom Druid, another great one. ETB, basically, Roiling Regrowth. Sacrifice a land, get 2 basics into play tapped. Now, of course, we're not done with ramping just yet because, again, we want to fireball. We want to burninate our opponent's faces really well. So, yeah, tech number 8, 2 for the show. Everflowing Chalice. This one can get, well, 1, 2, 5, 82 mana. It can get us a lot of mana because basically, hey, it's got multi-kicker for 2. For every 2 mana you put into it, you get 1 mana back, and it's going to tap for a ton of mana throughout the game for you. Next up, Colony High Expedition. Just 2 mana, and it's going to actually help us build over time. It's going to get more counters when more lands come into play. Once it's got 3 quest counters on it, you sacrifice it, and all of a sudden you get 2 basics into play. Tap. Next up, Grow from the Ashes. Flexible. Hey, and if you kick it, you get 2 basics into play. Untap, so you utilize them right away. So it's Vegetation. Just a very standard ramp spell. Go get 2 basics into play, tap for 4 mana. And we've got some better versions of that. Invasion of Zendikar. Basically the exact same thing on ETB. We can also, if we take this out, hey, cool, flip it, and you've got a basically creature that can actually tap for mana as well. So you can potentially get 3 mana out of this. Migration Path basically slows Vegetation, but we can cycle away for 2. Fastwood Surge. You can also get counters on our creature. So again, if you make that cat army or whatnot, cool, now all of a sudden they're twice as big. Then we've got This is Renewal. Gain 7 life, go get 3 lands into play, tap 3 basics, gonna play tapped, I should say. Verdant Confluence, very flexible, choose 3, you can choose same mode more than once. 2 counters on a creature, probably not gonna be doing that. Return target permanent card from grave to your hand, yeah, we might do that. Or more likely, again, go get 3 basics essentially into play, tap, yeah, what's not to love about that. And finally, Verdant Mastery. This one is kind of flexible in that you can cast it for 4 or 6. You cast it for 6, you're getting all the benefits. You cast it for 4, an opponent gets a slight benefit. They're going to get 1 of the 4 lands that you go and get into play tapped under their control. But yeah, hey, you at least get 2 into play tapped under your control, and you get 1 in your hand. Or again, if you paid 6, you get all the benefits. You get 2 lands into play tapped, you get 2 in your hand. What's not to love about that? But not to go to tag number 9. Can you dig it? Yeah, anyone ever seen the Warriors? No. Anyways, Wildest Dream, source for XX and a green. X cards are going to go back from your graveyard to your hand. Lovely. This gets exiled, so this can be a great way to get back. Well, hey, we just burninated that opponent with our Fireball and also with, you know, a copy spell. Cool. Let's go get those cards back and do it to that unlucky opponent. Sorry. Or, yeah, just go get back whatever cards you need, essentially. And again, we've got so many ways to make so much mana. Dump a lot into this. Moving on, speaking of which, Commune with Lava. Instant for X, red, red. Exile top X card your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Yeah, this can be fantastic. And again, it's instant speed, so it can basically be uncounterable. Basically saying like, hey, yeah, let's get a ton of mana into this and just save up some impulse draw essentially for your next turn. Regrowth, a great way to just get a single card back for, again, 2 mana. Dride's Revival, 1 extra mana. We can also flash it back to do the exact same thing. Naya Charm, very flexible. 3 damage to our creature if you need to. Return target card from a graveyard to its owner's hand. Cool. So again, regrowth. Or tap down a creature target player controls. This can be very good to save yourself in combat or get your creatures through if you really need to. Moving on, Seize the Spoils. Discard 1, draw 2, make a treasure token. So again, some temporary ramp with that treasure token. Harmonize, draw 3 cards for 4 mana. Very efficient. Hedron Archive, a mana rock that can help us out. Again, cost 4, taps for 2. Very efficient there. Pay 2 taps, sacrifice, draw 2 if you need to. Good. Pirate's Pillage. Discard 1, draw 2, and you get 2 treasure tokens this time. So again, some nice extra ramp for that fireball effect for you. Then we got Escape to the Wilds. Hey, exile the top 5 cards of your library, impulse draw those cards essentially. Play them to your next turn, and then also you can play an additional land this turn. So again, some ramp there as well. Speaking of ramp, Dreamstone Hedron, 6 mana, tap for 3, pay 3 tap, sacrifice, draw 3 cards. What's not to love about that? But that's going to tag number 10, break stuff, and break stuff we shall. First up, Broken Bond. This can break stuff and help stuff too. Will help us. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, put a land card for your hand on the battlefield. So there we go, some ramp for us as well. Speaking of which, Dire Strain Rampage, an interesting one. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Basically, the land's destroyed this way, its controller gets 2 basics into play tapped. Otherwise, they get 1, and we can flash this back. And yeah, this can be used against an opponent. Yeah, sure, it's replacing one of the things, but whatever. Or we can use it against one of our own things and actually ramp ourselves too, so keep that in mind. Dismantling Wave, low to the ground, or a big mana spell. For each opponent, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment that player controls. We cast it for 3, I should say. Or we can cycle it for 8. And yeah, again, mana is no object with this kind of a deck. When you cycle through artifacts and enchantments, so if you really need a panic button, that can be great for you. Finally, Oblation, a card that can actually help us out if we need it. The owner of target non-land permanent shovels in the library, then draws 2 cards. So yeah, panic button, get rid of something that an opponent has. Absolutely fantastic, and basically permanently get rid of it. Again, if it's shuffling the library, it's gonna be really hard for them to get it back. Or again, for one of our own things, like, oh yeah, we really need to draw some cards. Cool. Get rid of something, shuffle it, draw some cards. Lovely. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's my turn to hear from you. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this Marisi unexpected fireball, tribal copy, whatever you want to call it, kind of a deck. That again, hey, your opponents aren't gonna probably see it coming and be like, oh yeah, okay, well, what's going on? Oh, what? Oh, there's the fire. Oh no, there's a fireball. I'm at 40 life, and all of a sudden they cast a giant fireball. They copied it 3 times, and I'm gone. And I can't counter it, even though I'm a blue mage. So yeah, a blue mage's nightmare, not being able to counter your things. Lovely. Let me know your thoughts are on this comments below. If you are interested in this deck, again, it's very budget friendly. Make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.